Welcome to What's Cookin'. I'm Norma.
I'm Debbie.
And today we have a special menu in celebration of St. Patrick's Day.
Woohoo!
It's going to be a lot of fun. As we said last time, we want to make sure that you learn some things, that we keep it simple, that we keep it fun.
And it tastes good, and the decorations add to the ambience of the whole meal.
So we're really excited about this, particularly because we were in Ireland, about a year and a half ago?
Yeah,
We had
amazing.
Such a good time.
Such good food.
So you'll hear us talk about it, and we're going to get started with going over the menu. So Deb, talk a little bit about what you'll be doing.
Okay, so being in Ireland, we went to the Guinness factory. And we love the Guinness factory because they started in the 1700s and they give back. And actually, in Ireland, their symbol is the harp. Well, actually, Guinness had the harp first. So when the government decided to use the harp, they had to change the position. So
Oh, there it is, right on the front.
Right, going to the right, and I believe that the government has theirs going to the left. Anyway, this is a Guinness cheese dip that we're going to put in puff pastry sheets, and it'll be your little pot of gold for St. Patrick's Day.
The second thing we're going to make is soda bread. And for those of you who know me, I'm terrified of baking. But
She's an amazing cook, don't let her tell you that.
But I'm afraid of baking. And this recipe is so easy and so good, followed by an Irish pub salad. Now that's an oxymoron because when we were in Ireland, there weren't any salads.
There's none.
There's no salad.
Lots of Guinness though.
A lot of Guinness, no salad. But I found a recipe and I'm going to share that with you today. Then following that,
A Guinness Beef Stew. And you can also use lamb if you would like to use lamb instead. But I chose beef and it is yummy, yummy, yummy. Then I'm making little 4-leaf clovers, and I'll show you how to do that, to put on top of your beef stew and then bake it, and it is delish.
this kitchen is going to be smelling amazing. Too bad we don't have smell-o-vision for the TV because this kitchen's going to rock it. Then we're going to have a dessert. And so we are going to have an Irish bread pudding made with Bailey's Irish cream, followed with a whiskey butter sauce on top. So
And no calories for St. Patty's Day, so
no.
indulge.
Yeah, and as you can tell, we have a lot of bread with almost all of our dishes.
Yes, and we're dressed the part. We have our Irish aprons, our hats, and our spatulas, and then we'll finish up with decorating your table so that not only is your food delicious, looks good, but the presentation on the table, as we always talk about, and how easy it is. And again, my favorite place to go, 99-cent store, and you can get so many fun things. My hat's from there.
My hat's from there.
And
And it's so inexpensive.
Yeah, so you can really make a festive table and have fun.
And then you can also save these things and use them again.
Exactly.
My garage looks like Party City practically. So absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the appetizer.
Okay, so we have some great ingredients here. We have a really sharp cheddar cheese, Dijon mustard, actually from Dijon when Rob and I had the good fortune of going there to the Dijon factory. Some cut up chives and parsley. And then this is one of my favorite, we always like to give you tips. It's porterhouse seasoning. I use it on everything. It's good on fish, chicken, meat, guacamole, this dip, everything. And the Guinness. So let's get started. I'm going to mix it all into the food processor. So you first put in your cheese, and it's about 2.5 cups of grated cheese. So we mix that all together. And then we put in 4 cut up pieces of the cream cheese. Then you add about a teaspoon of the Dijon. And I chose this particular Dijon. When you go to the factory there, they have all different flavors. This one goes well with meat, so I put that in. So there's that. And then we add the chives and the parsley and a little bit of seasoning, probably about about a teaspoonful. And then I'm going to mix this together for a quick second. So here we go. I'll count off 5. And now we add 2 teaspoons of milk, or half and half. So 1, 2, and then we add 1/4 of a cup of the Guinness. So it's just a little bit, but it's always good. So now we put this back on and mix it, and you'll see how the dough sort of forms like a little ball. So here we go. And then we're done. So we have this nice creamy mixture, and it's pretty, and it's got green in it. And so for our next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our little pots of gold. You first take your puff pastry, and then you make sure it's more like room temperature, and then we cut it into 12, actually you're going to do about 24 pieces, as you can see. So it looks like this. And then we're going to cut the squares into half. So when you cut it into half, you just go like this, and you can cut like another one down the middle, and this will give us 24 for our pastry puffs. So let me just move this up and this over, and then we're going to fill our tin. So if you watch, I'm going to just pull it a little bit and then put it in here like so, and we're going to fill all these up. And then we go through and we continue doing that. So let me finish filling these up, and then I'll show you the next step of filling this, and then it's ready to go in your preheated oven, which is set at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on your oven. So we're almost down to the last 2, and as you see, you don't have to be perfect. You just put this in here like this, and again, you make like a little cup. And if you see the little groove of the tin here, it's not the tin, the plastic, you just try to make like a little lip so it forms a little cup, and then that's the perfect thing to hold in your Guinness cheese dip. And the other thing is, you don't always have to do something like this. You can just use the cheese dip by itself and add crackers or chips or pretzels or anything else that you would use for dipping. You can use vegetables. It's all good and it tastes delicious. So here we go, and take a spoon, about a half a teaspoon, and you can use a spatula and just put it in there. You don't want to fill the cheese up all the way to the top because the cheese will puff up. So if you can see how this is right here, we just put it in like so. And then we'll go through the rest of these and put them all in, and then we'll be ready to put it into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then you've got an amazing little pot of gold. Okay, so we're almost done. As you see, we have 2 more just to fill up. And if you can see, I'm like trying to do just a little bit into the cup here, the little cup that we made. And this is a silicone, so you might have a question that these are silicone trays. They're really easy to clean up, use, and they work great in the oven. Or you can use a metal tin. I have one of those as well. And they both work really great. And so here we go. I am finished. Put this in here. And as you can see, they're ready to go. The oven's ready. You hear it beeping, and they go. I'm gonna pop them in. Okay, those are in. It'll be about 20 to 25 minutes, and we're on to the next course.
Soda bread. So soda bread is super easy to make. If I can make it, anybody can make it. And I want to thank my cooking colleague from Ollie, Lisa Malmet, for the recipe, and she helped walk me through it, and I've now made it 3 times. So it's that good. So soda bread has its origins in Ireland, obviously, and in the 1830s, baking soda became very popular in Ireland, and this dish was really popular because it called for so few ingredients and it was super easy to make. And in many of the villages and towns, they didn't have all of the necessary ingredients to make bread, but they could make this bread, the soda bread. And so that's what we're going to do for you today. So we're going to start off with milk. So 3/4 cup milk. You can use buttermilk, but not everybody has buttermilk in their fridge, right? So use milk. Can you use low-fat milk? Absolutely. I did it the other day with low-fat milk. So to 3/4 cup milk, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of distilled white vinegar. Okay, and you're going to mix it. And what does that do? That makes buttermilk, or in Ireland they call it sour milk. So you make that and you let it sit for about 5 minutes. So I'll put that over there and let it get all creamy. I can see it's already getting that right consistency. So while that's occurring, next we're going to add to this bowl 2 cups of regular flour. Okay, and I'm not worried about, do you have to weigh it? Does it have to be so many ounces and all that? I know there's a lot of discussion about weighing of the flour, whatnot. Don't worry about it. Just 2 cups of flour. To this, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Put that in there. Then we're going to add next 1 tablespoon of baking soda. That's the soda bread. Okay. Actually, it's 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. And then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Put that in there. Next comes the hard part. I mix it with my fingers. So some recipes say sift it. You know what? You don't need to do that. It's just as easy mixing it this way with your fingers and getting it all going. All right, so now to all of this, we're going to add 4 tablespoons, which I have right here, of shortening. Okay, and I dump that in. Now I'm going to use a pastry cutter. If you don't have one, use a fork. I did it with a fork the other day and it worked just as well. So, but I needed an excuse to get another kitchen utensil, so another tool. So, because my husband will tell you I don't have enough of them. So anyhow, you keep going back and forth with this. And what you want to do is you want to get the consistency of like small little pellets or little peas. So I keep going and mixing it around and around. And this might inspire me to do some more baking, which terrifies me because it's so precise. That's the beauty of this dish. It's not precise, it's very rustic. So you can see how it's pebbly. That's what we want. So we are shooting for that consistency. Okay, and I think it's just about done. And you're gonna see this is super fast to make. Okay, so let's see. Can you see how this looks? I tasted it the other day. It does taste like buttermilk, which if you taste buttermilk on its own, it's not the best. So I think that's been about 5 minutes. So now there's 2 more ingredients that are optional before I pour that in, but it really elevates this to a whole nother level. And that is a 1/2 cup of golden raisins. I know some people don't like raisins, but the golden raisins are really good. And as I said, that's going to make it super good, but you don't have to use that. Then I have a tablespoon of caraway seeds. It sort of reminds me of like rye seeds, so in rye bread. So I dump that in there, again with my hands, mix it all up, break it up. Okay, and now we're gonna add, they call it sour milk, but it's homemade buttermilk. Okay, pour that in. Use your hands, mix it up. You can see how it's coming. It's kind of goopy and sticky. That's what you want. And also with this bread, you don't have to knead it that much. In fact, you don't have to knead it at all, but it makes it a little bit better, I think, if you do knead it. So I'm going to put it over here on this. It's a little bit sticky, so I have a little bit of flour just to add in here. Okay, I'm combining it, pressing down, folding it, pressing it, folding it. But there, so you see how it looks. Okay, I'm going to remove this. There's a little bit here. You can use foil, but parchment paper is so easy to use. It's your friend. Okay, so now you can see it's kind of round. It's about 3 inches high. You don't want to flatten it down much. You want it to stay at this level. Fry things. Then press down with your serrated knife and press again. Not too far down, but just enough to make indentations. So I'm scoring the bread. Okay, and then just because for decoration, you don't have to do this either, but it makes it look like you bought it at some really nice bake shop. So I'm sprinkling flour on top, okay? Now it goes in the oven, and the oven has been preheated, 375 for 30 minutes. And it's gonna smell amazing. Now I'm here to tell you, you're gonna eat it all up. And you have that warm with some butter, preferably Irish butter, and it's a meal unto itself. And on to our next segment.
Bacon.
So what we have here, and the soda bread's almost ready. This is the Irish pub salad, which we say we never had, we never saw, but you know what, we're going with it. We found it on the internet several times, and so it must exist.
Bread's done.
Bread's done.
Woo-hoo!
Let's go see. Okay. And as you notice, we're using my little Easy Bake Oven.
Yeah.
I love this little oven.
Great. Great.
And putting it on the wire rack so that it cools. And you want the air to go underneath it, because if you let it stay on the baking sheet, it gets kind of steamy underneath, and you don't want that.
That could be
So,
soggy.
yeah, exactly. So you want it to dry. Yes, so we're going to make an Irish pub salad. And you may recall I said earlier, when we were in Ireland, we never saw any salad.
No salads.
Let alone an Irish pub salad. And God knows we were in enough pubs.
Pubs, we were.
But yeah, there was no such thing. But I discovered this online, and several recipes all the same. So it must exist somewhere.
Yes.
So we're going to show you how to make an Irish pub salad. So you start off with butter leaf lettuce, which I've already cleaned and dried. So get the biggest leaves here.
So Norma delicately places them on the plate.
Sort of like a 4-leaf clover.
Sort of.
What? Okay, I've got that there. And then this one here.
And then while you're doing that, I'll get the cucumber ready.
Perfect.
So tell us what you'd like us to do.
So,
or me to do, I should say.
yeah.
And you in tea
Yes.
land.
I'll be helping you mentally.
Okay.
So I need you to score it.
Remember we talked about scoring, where you take your fork and you just make lines. You really dig in there and you make lines, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And so after you score it, then what do?
Okay, then I want you to cut it in half.
Okay.
And then cut it in half again. Okay, and so while she's doing that, you can see I sliced the beet. So I'm gonna
And the
slice
beet
it
goes on.
I knew you were going to do it. I knew it. She couldn't resist.
I couldn't.
So, okay, and then this, and we're going to assemble it. Okay, along with that, I've already cut in half some grape tomatoes. So I've got here about 8 of them, and I've got the yellow and the red. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put this on. 3 there, maybe some over here, and there's no special way of doing this. It's whatever way.
Okay, now that I made a big mess, now what?
Okay, so then if you could just cut it like this.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, I have a hard-boiled egg, cut in half, put in each one there. The recipe also calls for pickled asparagus, which I wasn't sure existed, but sure enough, my local market had it. So I get a handful. This is about 2, 4, 5. Put them here. Put some over here. Okay. Now, I'm going to move that aside. I'm going to take my tomatoes, add those. I'm just making kind of a pretty design.
And I think to have less of a mess, as you see of this mess right here, should have done it in the garbage can so that the seeds wouldn't have been all over.
That's okay.
It's alrighty-dighty. There you go.
So, okay. In fact, now I have cheese. This is
Cheese.
this is Kerrygold Dubliner with Irish Stout.
Yes.
Got it at the local market. It's kind of cute because it's got the green wax around it. No, we don't eat the green wax, so we're going to take it off.
And it comes off really easily.
See how easy that was? All right, so now what we're going to do is cut it down.
Kind of like the chiffonade.
Chiffonade.
Remember last time we talked about chiffonade where you roll, but you can't roll cheese.
Okay,
And then you cut.
And this one's breaking up. I made this the other day with American cheddar, which, yes, you can use, and it was also very good. But this is dry, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. You want to try a little piece?
Sure.
Let's try. Oh my God.
good.
That's really good. Okay. So, all right. So there it is, but whatever. So for the sake of time, we're just going to go ahead.
Yeah, it makes it look really pretty.
Right? This would be difficult to do with a spoon. I tried it the other day. Very difficult. Okay, and there you have your Irish pub salad.
Yay! Good job. Good job.
Thank you. And
Okay, so what I did, this is one of my favorite pots. This was my mother's. A lot of my stuff that I use, obviously, you've seen in the other show and this show belonged to my mom. But this is a pressure cooker, and you could probably cook it in like a heavy metal pot if you don't have a pressure cooker, or even in a basic any of your big soup pots you can cook this in. The hardest thing about making the stew is doing all the prep work, and as I put each one of these things in, you will see. So I'm making the pan really hot, and even though I'm adding bacon, and there'll be wonderful bacon grease to this, I'm going to put a little bit, as we talked about, Antica oil, who we love, and they're located in La Salle, and they have many different types of different olive oils and balsamics, but this is a Tuscan herb, and I thought this is perfect because it just ties into all the rich flavors that we're going to put in our stew today. So I'll put in a little bit of oil, and then, ouch, and then I'm going to put in, this is really hot, so let me turn this down, and I'm going to put in the bacon, and it's going to sizzle. And having a really hot pot makes things just cook much better, and it'll sear it and it'll really taste good. So the next thing that we do is we cook this, probably your bacon, so it's crispy, and as you see, it's kind of cooling down or not being quite as hot.
how much bacon did you put in there?
So I use about 6 or 7 slices. And I just chop them. So they're like chopped up pretty much like that. And so it works out really well. And then it'll be another couple minutes. And then what you do is you slowly add in all the other items. So as this is still cooking, and let me see what temperature I have it at. Let me turn it up just a little bit. We're going to add the onions. These wonderful onions that Norma cut. And then
Does it matter what kind of onion?
like just a yellow onion, I think is fine. I'm gonna add the rest of our onions because it adds such good flavor. And there's like my daughter Elena, who I have to thank for getting Norma and I on this show with Padnet. If it wouldn't have been for her, we would have not been doing this. So hopefully you'll watch Elena and her workout. She does chair yoga and all different sorts of different exercises, and she's great. So thank you, Elena, for making this possible for us, and we really, really appreciate it.
I keep coming back. So you want the onions so that they're
sautéed.
So they're pretty tender.
And then you just keep adding. So now you add the garlic. And if you didn't like garlic, I know, Norma, you're allergic to garlic, but
yeah,
for others, you just put it in. It just adds a nice aroma. And you just keep cooking and cooking and cooking. And so once this part's done, and probably another few more minutes, then let me turn this up just a little bit so it really is on a hot flame. And you just keep stirring it. And you see, I don't know if you can tell, the pot's getting a little brown, but all this will go away when you add some of the other things and the juices. The other thing that I make all the time is I make my own chicken soup. But for this recipe, you can go to the store and you can buy chicken broth. Now, they do say not necessarily to use beef broth, but I like the beef broth. Again, Norma and I want to do a show that repurposes food. So usually in December, I make a brisket. And there's all these wonderful rich juices. So I take those juices and I freeze them. And so I'll use them for a stew like this. I'll use them to make onion soup. I'll use them for anything that needs more of a really rich beef broth, because I have the broth, and obviously the brisket's done, that time's over with, and so you've kind of moved on to a new menu, but it's repurposing some of the food and things that you have, and by freezing it, obviously I'll keep it nice and fresh, and then when you go to use it, it tastes like you just made it, and it makes it really, really yummy. And again, it's the rich, hearty flavors, and that's what we loved about Ireland when we were there. We were there in October, and yeah, it's amazing. But everything was so wonderful and tasty and good, and so now, as you see, the onions are getting a little bit more done. We want them to be brown, so it needs just a little bit more cooking.
It's getting there.
Yeah, and it'll be just another few more minutes, and then we add to that. The next thing we're going to add is I'm going to add a little salt to this. So again, I love the porterhouse seasoning. A lot of the grocery stores do carry it, and it's a great seasoning. And don't be afraid of having seasoning, and don't be afraid of having a little bit of fat in things, because it adds such wonderful flavor. We were watching the cooking show the other day, and they were doing something with ham, and the guy was cutting out all the ham, and so one of the judges had said that's what gives it the flavor. So I mean, I understand we're watching what we're doing and we need to be careful, but as you see, it's really cooking and getting a little bit more brown, and then this will continue to cook.
It's caramelizing
a little bit more. Yeah, so it just needs a little bit more, and it sort of sticks, so don't worry about it. Like I said, it looks like it's sort of burning, but it really isn't. Okay, and then we're going to add next is the beef. So again, like I said, I think the hardest thing about this meal is cutting up everything and prepping everything so that it's done. So that's the hardest part. It'll take you about 20 minutes to cut everything and have everything ready. And you can do this the night before if you want. And like I've always talked about, to me it's really important to be ready for your guests to come. You don't want to be in the kitchen. You don't want to sit and cook and do. All these things should be done. And this is a great meal to make the day ahead, a couple days ahead, 3 days ahead, because it's the richness of the flavors, and that they sit and they they just all come together and it just tastes so delicious, and they marinate even more. So having a few more days to marinate even after you made it is just wonderful. So you see the meat is browning.
What kind of meat did you use?
So I used chuck. Thank you for asking. So you can use lamb, but they suggest using chuck. And the difference is, I don't know if you know, but they talked about using prime or choice. The difference is prime's a little bit more marbly, meaning a little bit more fat, meaning a little bit more flavor. But both of them
a little bit more expensive too.
Yes, but it's very good. And the thing of it is, like, if you were to taste this meat now, it would be very, very tough. And as it marinates and it cooks and it's in all the juices, then what happens is it just gets softer and softer, and then it just falls apart. It's so, so good.
So you could use choice, which is the lesser cut of...
Oh, absolutely.
As long as you keep cooking it, and it'll just
Yes,
it'll break
yeah,
down.
yeah. There's not that much difference, but you know, as you said, it's a little bit more expensive. Now, sometimes recipes call for just using the bacon grease, and then you take the bacon out, and then you put the bacon back. It's too many steps. It's all going in the same place anyway, and you're going to put it back and use it. So I say just put it in. Okay, so the next thing we're adding is chopped celery and carrots. And then you mix these in just for a couple minutes. And so you keep mixing and mixing.
One of the things that was interesting in Ireland was how prevalent beef stew is over there.
Oh, yeah.
Or the lamb stew. It's so popular.
Yeah, and so good. And then these brown mushrooms are real hearty. Again, this is a very hearty, meaty dish, which is just so good. And so I'm just breaking these up. I've already cut all of them, and I'll just pop these in there like so. There you go, thank you. And then the next thing we're going to add is the soup. So it's 4 cups, and this is about 4 cups. And then your stew is getting more and more ready. But all that brown that was on the side of the pot seems to dissipate now that you added this wonderful liquid to it, and it will enhance the flavor. And then the next thing that we add is a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, probably like a teaspoon or 2, adds more flavor. And then you take, this is 1/3 a cup of tomato paste, and so we'll put that in there and mix all this together. Thank you. And you just keep mixing and mixing and mixing. So this whole process probably takes, I don't know, roughly 10 minutes or so to mix it all together. You know, by the time the bacon gets really crispy and good, and you just keep mixing all this in. And then you can add more soup to make it more rich, but this is the broth from the
from your brisket?
From the brisket that I made. And again, it adds such rich flavors to this, and just it really tastes good. Then we're adding the potatoes. And so if you cut potatoes like I did, and I made these last night, I cut them last night so they'll be ready for today's show. If you put them in water, they won't turn brown. So that's a key to, sometimes there's certain things that we make and you don't want to make it ahead of time because they turn a different color. But this is the perfect thing to do, is just keep them in water, which I did. And then when we came here, we set everything up and it's ready to go. And then the last but not least, actually 2 more things. So the bay leaves adds another wonderful flavor. So you put these in just like this.
How many are you putting in?
I put in 5, you can put in 3, you can put in 2. It's whatever your choice is, but it adds a nice flavor. And then the Guinness, because it is Guinness stew. And then the beer.
Oh, there we go.
Will just add such a wonderful aroma and flavor. And then you mix it up again really good. Now, having a pressure cooker, it will cook quicker. So it might be done in 40 minutes. Having a regular pot that you just put on the stove, it will be probably about 2.5 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. So that's why we suggest doing it a day ahead or 2 days ahead. And then everything is ready and it'll just be really soft and yummy. And I don't know, Norma, can you smell, get the aroma of all this?
I'm back here. I'm a couple feet away from you, and it smells fantastic. My mouth is watering.
And then you just, for me, I just put the lid on. And so you have to be very careful with the pressure cooker. So this goes on and then it cooks. But the main thing is, so this, you'll sort of hear it sizzle, and this little piece comes up a little bit more. I'm very familiar with this. But never ever, if it's sizzling, don't open a pressure cooker until the steam is out. And what happens is when this comes off and you'll see steam shooting up, so you've got to be very, very careful with that because this can blow up in your face, and that's why pressure cookers are dangerous. But if you know how to use them, they're probably the most wonderful cooking, for me, utensil that I have or thing that I have. And I love it. I can make all sorts of things, and especially like in soups or in stews and things. It just pulls all the flavor out of the meat, out of the vegetables, out of everything that you have in there. And it makes this luscious, tasty sauce and stew. And so now we're going to go into the dining room, and I'll show you how we set up the table for St. Patrick's Day. As you see, I've put together a really fun table for our guests coming later tonight.
So this is amazing, Deb. Where did you get all these different things from?
So the 99-cent store is my friend. I have the best time there. So they had these fun little sayings like "Pinch me, I'm Irish," and there's a beer mug there, and so you could write the person's name on this part of the
little placard thing.
Little placard thing, and it makes a great name setting for them to sit at. And then I got these plastic, they're fun, they're plastic, but they're beer steins to go with the Guinness. So it goes along. And then I found these, I don't know if this is blinking, yes it blinks. So
how cute.
So your guests can easily find their way to their seat. And if they want to put them on for a little bit of added glamour, they can do that.
So could you take, and I'm just wondering, could you take this, turn it upside down, and fold a napkin and put the napkin
absolutely
inside of it?
Let's just try. I don't know what we would do, but let's say we just do something like this,
roll
and then
it,
put it up, and maybe, I don't know.
Just something simple.
Yeah, you can put it in like this, and you didn't have to tie or do anything, and there you go.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! As the stew is cooking, we're going to make a little 4-leaf clover or a dumpling to go on top. So I'll show you 2 ways that you can do it, and then we're ready to go. So we're using the food processor, and this is super, super easy. So this is 2.5 cups of flour. So we're going to carefully put that in. And you just add all the ingredients and mix it up. It's that easy. So give it about, count to 10 and let's see where we're at. Ready? Go. Okay, and as you can see, it smells really good too. It's sort of a doughy consistency. So here's what you do. I'm gonna put this back here. So you make like a little ball, and what you can do, depending on how you make this in your stew and you're putting it in your pan, I have little ramekins, and so the stew's gonna go in here, and this is going to be the top. So you can make a little dumpling and make a little ball like this, and just put it, after the stew is in there, put it in there and bake it for about 30 minutes. But what I wanted to do is follow having a little bit more of a consistency for a St. Patrick's Day theme. So I found my mother's heart shape, because a lot of the 4-leaf clovers are sort of like a heart that's been cut in half. So we push this down and then you take it apart like so. And I'm just going to cut it down the middle. Very simple like that. So now you have 2 halves, which sort of makes a clove. And then we put it together like this. We'll do a 3-leaf clover opposed to a 4-leaf clover. And then some of the clovers, they're kind of indented a little bit and a little rounded. V in the middle, like so. And then we just pinch it together. And there you go. We have your clover. And then we're going to extend the bottom. We have to make the bottom part. And then there's your stem of your clover. And then after you put the stew into the cup, then you just put this on top, and I'll show you that in a sec. Oh, smells so good. Now, sometimes people want to make a thicker stew. You can add a little bit of cornstarch or a little bit of flour to make it a little bit thicker. That's totally your choice if you want to do that. But the aroma smells so wonderful. And there's some bay leaves in here. Make sure you're not putting the bay leaves in with your guest. So you just put it in the ramekin like so. And I like it to be a little juicy, more soupy. So it looks like that. And then put this in like so and add a little bit of juice. And the rich flavors of all the fresh herbs and meat and just everything. And then you pop this in just like this. And, whoops, it's a little big, but anyway, they will puff up. And here we go. And we'll put this into the oven. Let's go into the oven. I'll be right back. And here they are, the finished product. The aroma is just incredible. I can't wait to dig in. And there you have your Guinness Irish stew with your 3-leaf clover on top.
Hello, so this next segment we're going to make Irish bread pudding with Irish Bailey's cream and Jameson whiskey sauce. Oh, doesn't that sound delish? So one of the first things you do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. In terms of the bread, you can use challah, you can use brioche, you can use Hawaiian sweet bread, any type of bread of that nature. And what I would suggest you do is take it out early, at least a couple of hours early, cut it up, and you're going to cut it in cubes. And let me show you how that's done. So just down, you can hear it? Because it's dry. And you want it dry so that it can absorb the custard that's going to go in it without it getting too mushy. So I put that in there. All right, so here we go. So I always save these little packs of butter that I get when I get my food to go, and it's perfect for what I'm about to do. So we've got a butter. This is a 3-quart dish, and just butter it around. I don't like to throw anything away. I'm into repurposing it as much as possible. So you can see it's now been buttered. Okay, we're good with that. Set that aside. Set this aside here. Now we're going to make the custard. So let's go over the ingredients that we have here. So we have various ramekins filled. So we're going to start off with, and we're going to mix all of these liquid ingredients. So we've got 1.5 cups of milk. Okay. We've got 1/2 cup of heavy cream. Okay, to this I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Goes in there. We've got 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. You can add more if you like, but I'm always a little wary, so I just do 1/2. And to the liquid mixture, we're going to add 3 eggs. Okay. And one more. Okay, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. There we go. And we're going to add, this is 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Goes in here. This is easy peasy, right? Irish Baileys. Here we go. Goes inside. Now, if you don't have Irish Baileys, you can use any kind of cream. There's a horchata, which is really good because it's got the cinnamon in it. But we're staying Irish, so I'm going to mix all this. Okay, give it a good whisking. Now I am going to add, here we go, I'm adding raisins, and this is, again, 1/2 cup of golden raisins. Get these little ones out. Okay, and now we have the custard. So you can do this one of two ways. You can take the bread, put the bread here, and pour this on top of it and let it sit 10 minutes. Or, I'm a little wary of doing this, but my husband seems to like it this way better. He likes it when it gets a little bit mushier. So, break this up. So with my hands, I'm mixing it. Okay, and getting it all in there. Mix, mix, mix. I'm using, next to me, it's a 3-quart Pyrex. You can use a smaller one and make less, or you can use a bigger one, make more, or the bigger one will not be as puffy. You know, this looks like it's plenty right here. Pour it in the prepared dish. Mix it around. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to let it sit for 10 minutes. Then you're going to put it in the oven for 20 minutes, 350, with foil over it. And then after that, you're going to take the foil off, cook it for another 20 minutes, and it will rise. So right now, just a little tip with regard to the foil. So what I do is I take the foil, this side, the dull side, put it in my sink so I don't get it everywhere, spray it, put it on top, and the reason for that is it prevents things from sticking. So if you're making some kind of macaroni and cheese or whatever, if you do that, it'll prevent, as I said, things from sticking. Okay, so we're going to let this sit for 10 minutes before we stick it in the oven. So next, let's make the whiskey sauce that goes with it. So this is pretty darn easy as well. So over here, we have 1 stick of butter that has been already melted. So I stuck it in the microwave for about 60 seconds. I usually cover it with a napkin or a paper towel so that it doesn't splatter everywhere. This is sugar, so I have 1 cup of sugar. So I'm putting 1 cup of sugar in here. I'm going to take my egg, put it in the ramekin, and whisk it. Okay. Okay, and you slowly add this into the sugar till it's combined. So you see it? There it is. I'm gonna use my other hand. I'm just gonna dump it. It's easier and faster. Okay, it's all in here. So I'm combining it very fast. Next, and you can see, next we're going to add the butter that has been melted. Okay, whisking that. And it's going around and around. Okay. Whisking that very quickly. And you can see it's already, the granulated sugar is combining really well and not becoming granulated anymore. It's smooth. So then to this, the piece de resistance, the whiskey. So it's 2 tablespoons of whiskey, or a little bit more. That also helps to break up the sugar. And that's it, you have whiskey sauce. This will go on top of the bread pudding. Smells great. And through the magic of television, I happen to have one ready to come out of the oven.
Perfect. Boy, does that smell good. Oh my God, that smells so good.
You can smell the cinnamon and the vanilla and everything.
Oh my God. Cut into it quick.
We'll split one. How's that?
Sure. May I have more?
Yes, please. May I have another? We're doing British instead of Irish.
Yeah.
You realize that? Okay, there's that.
And this is the dressing?
This is the dressing, the whiskey dressing. So yeah, you want to drizzle it over. Ooh, yum.
I'm ready.
There
Bon
you go.
appetito.
We crack each other up.
We do.
Okay, here we go.
Oh my God.
That's really good. We don't lie. That's good.
That's really good. Forget everything else. Just eat this. So good.
It is really good. All right, one more bite and that's it.
Okay. Welcome back with What's Cooking.
Yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed our Irish foods that we have here. We certainly had fun bringing it to you, but in particular, we want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, Heart of Ida.
Yes.
And so Heart of Ida, a little story behind it. There is a woman named Ida, and many, many years ago, she took her granddaughters with her to a nursing home to visit the individuals there. And from that became their granddaughters then formulated a nonprofit called Heart of Ida after their grandmother. And Heart of Ida is about preserving seniors, their independence, and bringing them cheer and joy by doing wellness calls and things of that nature. So we encourage you to please go to www.heartofida, take a look at it, and donate either with your time or with your pocketbook, but
Yes.
certainly they would appreciate it.
And it helps shows like ours and my daughter Elena, who does the senior fitness, and so much more. And it really helps so many people, and it's very diversified. And they're just trying to reach out to not only seniors, but everyone. And it's made such a wonderful difference.
It has.
So we hope that you enjoyed all the goodies.
Yes.
And I wanted to show you this delicious soda bread with the raisins in it, and
Irish butter there to slather on it.
and the pub salad, and the little pots of gold that you make with the Guinness cheese, the Guinness stew, and
Yeah.
the delicious
Irish Bailey's bread pudding
oh my
with
God.
whiskey sauce.
Yeah, you can just start there and go backwards.
It's so good.
It's fun. Anyway, thank you, Norma, for all your
Thank
delicious dishes, and
We had a good time.
this is so much fun. And thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next time.
From our kitchen to yours. What's cooking?
What's cooking? Yes.
Woo!
Woo!
If you want the recipes
Yes.
for any of this that we've made, you see below on the screen. We're glad to share these recipes with you.